it to ourselves, Well, supporting West Ham can be exhausting, can't it? It can be exhausting and very, very painful at times. West Ham United won, Man United won, a late Sesko goal, denying West Ham of 3 valuable points at the bottom of the league, which would have really shaken things up in terms of the relegation battle. And yeah, it would have been a massive 3 points for the team, but it wasn't to be. Man United nicked the point right at the end, and yeah, just wanted to share my thoughts on what was an interesting night at the London Stadium. First of all, though, I mean, wanted to talk about the lineup. I think we went into the game with some sort of mysterious injury news. Someone was definitely going to be out after Nuno's press conference, and it turned out to be Pablo, which meant we could have fielded the same team against Burnley, but Nuno went for an extra midfielder and just pushed Fernandes further forward to be the sort of 4-4-1-1. But it ended up being 4-5-1, really, if we're honest with ourselves. I don't think Fernandes was ever that close to Tati, particularly in that first half. So it was pretty much a 4-5-1, which is how we ended the game at Burnley. And I think we did miss Pablo. I will say that. I think we missed that 2 up top. I think what we saw against Chelsea, obviously against Burnley, it was different. We obviously went with 2 up top with Wilson and Tati, and then in the second half we went to 4-5-1. The game was almost done there, and I think that helped us. But against Chelsea, when we had that proper 4-4-2 with Pablo and Tati, we were able to win the ball a lot higher up, and I think that enabled us to see some of the exciting attacking moves and the energy that we saw in that first half against Chelsea, and likewise the other games against Sunderland as well. I think what that sort of 4-5-1 and bringing another midfielder did is it prevented that. It prevented winning the ball higher up the pitch. It meant that United centre halves could come out with the ball and maintain possession and sort of recycle and sustain attacks, really. I say attacks, it wasn't as if United were attacking, but it just meant that we found it more difficult to get hold of the ball and then keep it. But we had our spells in that first half. But it did make us more solid. The 4-5-1 did make us more solid. I don't think we conceded as many chances as we would have done if we were in the 4-4-2. So I think overall, I think you have to say Nuno got it right in going with the 3 midfield. I think we saw when Callum Wilson did come on that there's only so much he can offer the team because of his legs, because of his age. So I think that was probably the right decision when all things said and done to go to the 4-5-1. And then elsewhere it was unchanged. Mavropanos and Disasi at the back, and I thought that the team selection was probably the right call. But the first half was quite dull, to be honest. I have to say, I think both teams looked like they're happy with the point. It was almost like they were feeling each other out. It looked like that United had sort of done a bit of preparation in terms of the fact that we start games off really well, and we in that first 45 minutes we've been electric, haven't we, in other games? And it looked like United just wanted to slow that down and not give us the impetus to get a goal and then kick on from there. And you saw them sort of Casemiro coming, sort of dropping into between the back 2 centre halves. And United were happy to keep it at a slower pace, and I think maybe the game plan from their side was we'll keep it, a calm, slow game, and then in the second half when West Ham tire and Tati tires, that's when we'll try and find the goal. But I do think that first half was quite dull, and it was almost like it passed both teams by. It was almost like we didn't. Neither team really grabbed the opportunity. The only moments there were with the Somerville shot from the edge of the box. Again, Somerville looked sharp. And the big one was the Luke Shaw effort from corner, a well-worked corner, similar to the goal they scored against Tottenham at the weekend. And Wan-Bissaka clears it off the line. Really good goal line clearance. At first, I thought, just looking on the TV, I thought it might have been handball, but it was clearly off his knee. And there were no appeals for it. I just thought it would be one of those things that comes off his hand and it's given on a red card. But yeah, other than that, it was a fairly uneventful first half, and I think both teams were kind of just feeling their way into the game. I think we came out in the second half a bit better. There's a bit more purpose about our play. United pushed up a few yards, which enabled us to hit them on the counter-attack a little bit more often. United started to try and have more purpose themselves, and I think that opened the game up a little bit, opened some space behind their defence. And we looked a little bit more threatening. And then obviously we get the goal, and it was a good goal. It was a good goal. I think Juve does well. Obviously Martinez lets it bounce, and then from there I think Souček and Bowen did really well. I'll come on to Souček in a bit, but I love the fact that Souček just knows his limits. He gets the ball and he just puts it into an area for Bowen, and then just carries on his run. Runs on the back off the back of the defender. Really good sort of third man run, if you like. What he's done really well since he's been at the club, to be fair. And a good finish as well. It's like, just gets a deft touch on it and just sort of directs it into the goal. Really good goal. And yeah, it was good time to score, really, because it meant that we could continue to sit back and then try and hit them on the counter. Maybe that didn't play into our hands in the end, but I think it sort of suited the game plan that Nuno wanted to go with, whether it was right or wrong. And yeah, it was a good goal from Souček, and then the game went from there, and it was basically United trying to break us down and us trying to hit them on the counter, and we got away with a disallowed goal. I think we fell asleep in that sort of 5-minute spell. It was almost like we were going through the motions, just letting them have the ball, not really concentrating. It was probably the only spell in the game that happened. They obviously get the goal, and thankfully it was disallowed, and it was very tight. But then I think we sort of grew into the game a bit again. We went again, and I think we had opportunities to kill it off. Quite a few opportunities. We looked tired. I'll come into individuals, but as a team, we looked tired. We looked like we were struggling with the pace of the Premier League over the last few weeks, and we've put in a lot of effort. You have to say that the players, and it's been only a few players, hasn't it? It's not as if we've got this massive squad that we can rely on. We are reliant on a few players, the likes of Fernandes, the likes of Bowen, the likes of Somerville, the likes of Tati, and they just ran themselves into the ground. I think you started to see that in the second half. We were wilting a little bit, and we were tiring, and we didn't maybe offer as much on the counter attack as we could have done. Having said that, we did have chances, we did have opportunities. And there were moments in that second half where I just thought, if we get a second now, the game's done. United are done here. But it didn't quite come, and then it was almost like inevitable, wasn't it, at the end? But one thing I would say, and I don't want to put too much blame on the players, because like I say, they've been very good recently, and we did well in the game. I think we delivered a pretty good performance, but we still do lack that sort of that intelligence, that game management to see games like that out. We saw it against Chelsea, and a lot of the blame for the Chelsea went on to Nuno. And you could argue again with the substitutions, they didn't really have the effect, the desired effect. But I think the players on the pitch towards the end of that game could have done more just to see that out. And it feels like 2 points dropped. It feels like 2 points dropped in what was a massive moment. Obviously, Nottingham Forest play Wolves tonight. We hope that Wolves do us a favour, but you've got to assume that Forest win and it goes back to 5 points. It would be 5 points, yeah, it would be 5 points, and that'll be a real killer, because like I say, we were so close to being level on points for Forest, putting all the pressure on them tonight. But yeah, it wasn't to be. Like I say, I think a little bit of lack of intelligence, a little bit of naivety, maybe from Ollie Scholes. Just players, substitutions. Maybe not thinking about the team, just coming on and trying to have the moment of glory. I'm thinking about Callum Wilson. I'm thinking about Adama Traore. And yeah, just as a team, we just failed to see it out, which was painful. But I think we did well up until the Xerxes chance and then the goal. I didn't think United created too much. It wasn't as if they were, there was barrages of attacks. It was one after the other. One thing I would say, and I don't normally blame referees, because I think there is no way we're in the position we're in because of referees. But that referee with Simon Hooper last night was awful. I think he was really, really bad. I think he missed a lot of things, and a lot of it. And you always feel like this as a football fan when you're watching your own team. But it felt like he was just giving everything to United and just missing so many decisions for West Ham. Callum Wilson got pulled to the ground about 3 times. And Hooper just waved away. It was almost like he felt like we were trying to con our way to free kicks, but it wasn't. It was Martinez getting too tight and throwing him to the ground, and other defenders doing the same. I just felt like Simon Hooper just just got every decision wrong. Really, it felt like every decision he was making was like, yeah, you're getting this wrong. I thought he was really awful. And then the 7 minutes, where he gets 7 minutes from. Bearing in mind there were no added minutes in that first half. It went to 45 minutes. He blew the whistle, and then in the second half, please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I do not remember one injury in that game. Like one period of time where we were sitting around waiting. You had the VAR call. That's the only thing I would say, but that wasn't that long. I mean, that was maybe a couple of minutes, and then you had the subs. When it was getting, in the 88th, 89th minute, I thought it'd be 5. I thought it'd be 5 minutes, and that would be that. I mean, 6 would have been a push, but 7, I just don't know where he would have got that from. And I do think, a separate point, and maybe a discussion for another day, but I do think we're at a point now where just stop the clock. Just stop the clock and, and don't have any added on time. A bit like rugby. So every time the ball goes out of play, every time it's not in play, the time stops. Sorry, I don't know if I really thought that through as an idea, but I'm just sick of it. I'm just sick of referees just coming up with a time, and you think, where's that come from? Like, where has that come from? 7 minutes. I just don't understand it. But all in all, it was a very good finish from Sesko. It wasn't as if it was a clear-cut chance that Man United manufactured. It wasn't particularly poor defending. Zazarsi maybe could have been a bit tighter, but he had a really good game. I think it was just a very good finish. Almost a little bit fluky, but you have to give credit where it's due. It was a good finish, and Manson couldn't get near it. And we take the point. Individually, though, I think there were some really good performances out there. I think the general feeling from the individual performances was that it was more hard work than quality on the ball. I did think we lacked some of the quality that we've shown against Tottenham, Sunderland, Chelsea even, and Burnley. I think we lacked a little bit of that. Maybe again that's just fatigue setting in. We've been reliant on the same old players for those games. So yeah, I think Bowen and Fernandes were the epitome of that. I think they struggled on the ball in the game. I think Fernandes had one of his worst games for a while, and that he was still okay, by the way. I'm not saying he was poor. He was okay, and I think off the ball he worked his socks off. I think on the ball he had a few moments where it just didn't happen for him. Again, he still did some good things in the game. I'm not saying it was a terrible performance, but I think it shows how far he is, how high his performance rating has been. That there was a little bit of a drop off there. Same with Jared Bowen. I think Bowen has been better in recent weeks from an attacking standpoint on the ball. He's been working hard, but I think Bowen always works hard. But I think on the ball he's been a lot better in recent weeks. But I think last night he wasn't. I think he seems to try and dribble past people a lot of the time. He lost the ball a few times. He seemed tired. He seemed like he couldn't quite get up to speed with the game at times, and it felt like he was a little bit sluggish at times. But like I say, off the ball, I think he works his socks off. As did Tati, by the way. I think his work rate is second to none. And what I've been saying for so long about the centre forwards that we needed at the club, and after signing Haller and Skamaka and Fulkrug, it's not the goal, the goals per game sort of ratio, if you like, when you're looking at these players. It's how hard they can work, because that's what we needed. That's what we needed, someone that can, be athletic up top, can stretch the game, can cause, run into the channels like Antonio did for so long, but also work hard defensively, work hard off the ball, and make it difficult. We've been so easy to play against this season, and I include when we started Callum Wilson up top, which has made, we were better when we did than when we had Paqueta in the false nine, for example. But I do think that Tati just gives us a different dimension to Callum Wilson in terms of his mobility. He can get about the pitch, he can close people down, he can make it difficult for people. He didn't hold the ball up particularly well. I thought there's a few times where the ball came into him, and Wilson for that matter, where it needed to stick just to give us a little bit of respite. It didn't. But like I say, he worked his socks off, can't really complain. Again, Somerville looked bright. I thought he was decent. He was good on the ball. He had some moments where he went past Dalot and caused him lots of problems. He's continuing to be really, really good in recent weeks. Didn't quite happen for him in terms of goal scoring opportunities, and he had that shot in the first half that did pretty well, and it forced a decent save, a comfortable but decent save from Larmans. But yeah, I felt like that one in the second half. I think he was offside anyway, but there was maybe a chance he could have just hit it across goal with his left foot, and he sort of tried to check back, and like I say, the offside flag went up anyway. But yeah, I thought he looked good. I think defensively we were solid. Again, I think this is one of the better performances defensively that we've had. I think Disase again was impressive. I thought Mavropanos was good. Good in the air. Looked pretty solid. Made a couple of mistakes on the ball, but you come to expect that with Mavropanos. Yeah, and I thought Diouf as well. Diouf, I've not rated Diouf defensively since he's come to the club. Attacking, he's brilliant, but at the back he seems a bit shaky at times. He's not quite got to his man quick enough. He's been vulnerable from crosses. I thought he was better last night. Again, I don't know if he got tested actually as much as I probably anticipated he would against Ahmad, who I think in the first game at Old Trafford, Ahmad was causing Diouf a lot of problems. But I thought Diouf was, got the better of him actually last night. I think he performed really well. And then on to the substitutes, which, ended up being a pivotal moment at the game. I thought Scholes was okay. I think Scholes was getting a little bit of stick, and I can see why, because I think it was just naive of him to try and pass that ball into Wilson. I think if he had that time again, he would do something different. But I thought Scholes generally was okay. I thought Traore was awful. I thought Adama Traore was awful. He doesn't look quick. I mean, the whole reason you sign Adama Traore is because he's quick. He didn't look quick. That chance in the towards the end where Wilson's running down the right hand side, and Yoro didn't know whether to go to him or not. I think it was Magasso who was the furthest in the box, and Wilson ended up winning a corner, but he probably could have done more, and that was one of the chances we had to seal the game. Adama was sprinting at his fastest with one United player. I can't remember who it was. And I thought he's not running away from that player particularly well. Like, it's not as if he's what I think when I think of Adama Traore, he's rapid, like one of the quickest players in the league, that he would just get away from people. Didn't really do that. And there was another one where I think Traore ended up with a chance with his left foot, and I think it got blocked quite well. But he sort of ran inside of Magasso when it felt like the chance was to run outside on the left-hand side from Magasso, so Magasso could just sort of slip him in, and then he can run onto it on first time on his right foot. But he sort of ran down the middle, but he didn't really look quick. I don't know if he's just put on too much muscle that he's not particularly quick anymore. I said it in the last game against Burnley. He doesn't look agile either. It doesn't look like he can drop a shoulder and go the other way. And then Wilson again, I don't think he was great. I think he was unlucky. Like I say, a few times with the referee, I felt like the referee was just had it in for him and just wasn't going to give him anything. But I don't think he particularly held the ball well up. I should say. I don't think he covered himself in glory in that chance. Like I say, maybe should have got the shot off quicker or played the ball across to Magasso. One of the two. He kind of did neither in the end. I think the trouble is, and I do feel for Wilson a little bit, because that is not his game. Whereas that is what Traore was, which should have been bought for. Like, we're 1-0 up in a game where the other team are going to put pressure on us. We're going to be, hemmed in. We're going to literally be 11 men behind the ball. You need to be able to launch counter-attacks for us with your pace, and he didn't do that. Wilson is not that type of player. I think Wilson's more effective when we are chasing a game, and we need someone just to stand in between the sticks, in between the 6-yard box, if you like, and just find a goal, poach a goal. That's where Wilson comes into his own. So I can't give him too much stick, but again, I don't think he covered himself in glory last night. I actually thought Magasso was the only sub that provided us anything, because it was a moment in the game where I was crying out for a substitution in the middle of the park. I feel like Souček was tiring, Fernandes was tiring again and not having his best game, and same with Freddie Potts, who I think Freddie Potts did well as well. I hadn't mentioned him. And I think Magasso for Potts was the right change, because I think Souček gives you something in both boxes in the air, and Fernandes, it's difficult to take him off because he's probably our best player or one of them. So I think that was the right change. I thought Magasso did well. He came on, he looked energised. He looked like he had about him. He looked like what a substitute should do when they come on the pitch, because everyone else is knackered. You should look faster than everyone else. But Wilson and Traore almost looked like they'd played the 60, 70 minutes when they'd come on, or wherever it was. So Yeah, fair play to Magassa, because I don't think he's been trusted since that Wolves game. That Wolves away game where he was, I mean, the team were awful, but he was particularly awful. I don't think Nuno's fancied him since then. So maybe that's restored a little bit of faith, because I think he's a good player. I do like Magassa. There's a lot to like. I think he's got more energy and physicality than I sort of first thought when he came in, and he can play, he can pass, he can hit those long range passes. So I think he's a good option from the bench. If we continue to play Souček and Fernandes going forward in that middle two, I think Magassa coming on for one of those is a good option. But as I say, I do think we need to go back to that 4-4-2 when we can, as soon as Pablo's back. Hopefully it's not a bad one. But yeah, in the end, a 1-1 draw. I was really heartbroken last night, I've got to be honest. I found it difficult to get off to sleep, because yeah, it was a difficult one to swallow when it's so late, and we felt like we'd done enough to get the 3 points. But not to be. Let's see what Forest respond with tonight. Go into the FA Cup next week, and then I think it's Bournemouth next at home, which is an opportunity to get 3 points again. I think it's Bournemouth, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, let me know what you thought of the players and the performance, the general team performance, and the result itself. Do you think that's going to be a big kick in the nuts for the rest of the season, or do you think we've got enough to stay up? Let me know in the comments. If you have enjoyed the video, drop a like. Please subscribe for more, and yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Come on, you irons.